So I say most of y'all actually know about his book, but do I really know about like his life and the adventures he had? Okay, so one person. So I'm gonna talk about a little bit about his life and adventures. So Ernest Hemingway is a man of folklore and legend. Many men hold him up to a near godlike status and lust after living a life half as adventurous as his, such as myself. Hemingway is a world-renowned author, writing many award-winning novels and winning such prizes as the Pulitzer Prize and the Nobel Peace Prize. He is also known for his adventures and his general acts of craziness, which inspired by many of his novels. Some of his escapades include his participation in World War I, being a war correspondent in World War II, his record-breaking fishing voyages, and his final trip to African safari. So, some of the key parts of his life and adventures are obviously his participation in World War I, him being a correspondent in World War II, being a world-famous fisherman, and his final trip to the African safari. So, his participation in World War I. Like many people of the day, like his age, they felt the need to join and fight for their country, but due to his bad eyesight, he couldn't actually join into the military. So he volunteered for the Red Cross in France, and he was an ambulance driver. So about a year after being on the front lines, he was blown up by an Austrian mortar shell, where he actually was wounded with 200 pieces of shrapnel. And after he was blown up, he actually carried a soldier to safety and used the cigarettes he had in his pocket to stuff into his wound to stop the bleeding. And afterwards, about 10 years later, he wrote A Farewell to Arms about his experiences, which is one of his best-selling books. Next, his war correspondency during World War II. He liberated his favorite bar in the Ritz Hotel in Paris. Many people believe that he actually was one of the first people into Paris to liberate Paris, but actually, he just liberated his favorite bar because he was a drunk. And, I mean, he got drunk while everybody else liberated Paris. And he was actually on a boat anchored offshore on D-Day. His wife was actually on the beaches of Normandy, and this created a lot of hostility between them because he wanted to be on the beaches, so they ended up getting divorced. I think it was his third wife. He had 4 wives. And when his son was captured by the Nazis, he posed as the captain and led some French rebels in an attack against Germans to get his son back, which was unsuccessful and got a lot of people killed. And because of that, he was tried by the Geneva Convention for war crimes, because he was supposed to be a non-combatant. He wasn't supposed to actually fight in the war, but Ernest Hemingway, being Ernest Hemingway, decided he was going to fight in the war anyways. He was also a world-famous fisherman. In 1938, he caught a world record 7 marlin in one day, which is actually still a record to this day. And his boat Pilar, which you can see in the picture, is actually just about as famous as he is. Many people believe he actually built it with his own hands, but that's not true. It's on display at his house in Cuba. And he actually brought a Thompson machine gun fishing with him to kill great white sharks, because they would try to eat his catches, but I mean, when you shoot a fish, it bleeds, and the bullet brought upon more sharks, and they ended up eating more of his fish. So, he also won millions of dollars in fishing contests, and he would go to all these places and he would win his contest, and it would really piss off a lot of the locals, and they would want to fight, so he would actually fight the locals for the prize money, and he never lost a fight. And probably his most famous book, the one that got him the Nobel Peace Prize and the Pulitzer Prize, The Old Man of the Sea, is actually based off an actual event where the biggest fish he ever caught was, while he was under dams, was actually halfway eaten by sharks. And finally, we're going to talk about his last trip to the African safari. During his trip to the African safari, he actually killed a lot of big animals such as lions, cheetahs, elephants, all kinds of other animals. And he was involved in 2 plane crashes on 2 consecutive days. In the second, he actually used his head as a battering ram to bust out the window since the plane was on fire, and actually crawled to safety. He was in the hospital for about 2 weeks after that. And a lot of people actually believed that he had died, which wasn't true. He was still alive, obviously. And he read his own obituary. And towards the end of his trip, he was actually caught in a brush fire and received first-degree burns and was hospitalized for about a month. So in conclusion, by now you can see why many people obsess over Ernest Hemingway, including myself. He is a man of mythical proportions. While these are some of the incredible things he did in his life, these are nowhere near all of them. He was also a famous boxer and a Russian spy. Things such as these and the ones presented during my presentation are reasons why Hemingway will never be forgotten and will forever be known as a great author and a man amongst men. Is there any questions?
What's your favorite Hemingway book?
Oh my Lord, you hit me out of nowhere. Probably To Have and Have Not.